Hello and welcome to From Field to Skin, a series of interviews chronicling Ash Alberg's adventures in the Canadian fibre shed. Our 14th episode features Megan Sams of Live Textiles and was recorded in July 2019 on Treaty 8 territory. You can find Megan online at livetextiles.online or at livetextiles on Instagram. For more, follow at From Field to Skin on Instagram or visit fromfieldtoskin.com. Hi, I'm here with Megan, and we're on Treaty 8 territory.
Correct.
And so, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Deloise and Megan. Name Megama El Niklatmak. So, my name's Megan. I'm Megama Niklatmak, but I come from Gadamgug, or otherwise known as Newfoundland. But I now live between Tlingit territory, just south of Whitehorse, and here at the fire tower, in Treaty 8 territory. And I'm a weaver and a natural dyer and a knitter and a spinner and a beekeeper and a chicken wrangler and a puppy trainer and many other things. But my textile work's mainly weaving and natural dyeing.
Cool. So tell us a bit about your personal fiber journey.
So I grew up in Gadamgug in our small community. It's a small Mi'kmaq town, otherwise known as an outport Newfoundland town, so very, very small and on the coast. And the area is called Codroy Valley, but the direct area where my family's home is called Millville, because there's a wool mill and a lumber mill right there. The lumber mill's long since gone, but the wool mill is owned by my godfather, and he opened it when I was a kid as a museum. And so he taught me how to hand card and spin wool, and when the mill was fully functioning, it was a hand spun mill. So the cards ran on a water wheel.
Cool.
And they were like I think it's maybe 2 feet wide. It's not a huge card. And then local women usually were hired to do the spinning in the spinning loft. So he taught me how to hand card and spin wool when I was like 8 or something. Yeah. But my mom knits and she sews. She used to sew all of her clothes, and she's a quilter. And my grandmother sewed and knit for 4 boys and her husband, my grandfather. So it's like a long line of textile people, but me specifically started with him teaching me how to card and spin. And then I learned how to knit, but then I became a teenager and I was more interested in catching frogs and
I like that. I like that you're like, then I became a teenager and I was catching frogs. I'm like, so that's what I did when I was 8. That was catching frogs.
Well, as you saw earlier with the toad.
Yes.
Yeah. So I stopped knitting for a little while, but then I picked it up again. My godmother and my mom re-taught me again when I was maybe 17 or 18, and I've been knitting ever since. And then weaving was a natural evolution from there, but actually, last time I was in Gadamgug, I walked by my relative's house en route to where my partner and I got married. And her house is still there. She's long walked on. And the door was hanging open. So, and the house is in like disrepair. It's falling down. It's an old Trish salt box. And anyway, I went in to close the door, and when I went in, I found an old tubular knitting machine and hand-woven cloth wrapped around a bunch of pipes, like,
wow.
And then I got really curious. I was like, hand-woven cloth. And my home community is actually one of the only communities in Newfoundland with hand-weaving on the records, so likely because there was a wool mill there, but so I looked around, went upstairs, and there was a loom disassembled in one of kind of the storage rooms. So, like, weaving's not that far removed from my life, I guess.
Yeah. That's super Yeah.
It's pretty cool, and I have
Yeah.
the cloth. It's in the closet there, and
Amazing.
I spoke to her living, and well, one of my relatives too, who now owns the house, and asked her if I could replicate the cloth because she was a lot closer than I was to Mary. So, so anyway, I got her permission to replicate it, and that'll be coming down the pipes.
Amazing. That's super cool. So, okay, so there's a wool mill. So, Newfoundland is like this gap on the map at the moment. I think largely because just like people aren't like coming over and then like talking to other folks about what the kind of fiber shed. Obviously, there is a fiber shed happening, but like what is actively happening, I haven't been able to find out yet. So, what breeds of sheep are there? Obviously, there's also then like tanning hides and harvesting on that side of things, but then if there's a wool mill, presumably there's sheep close enough to need milling equipment.
Well, my hometown is an agricultural town. It's a river valley.
Okay.
And eel hunting grounds, or eel fishing grounds, I should say. And so before contact, there were Mi'kmaq families that lived there more or less year round because it's not harsh.
Yeah.
A little bit windy, but the winters aren't harsh at all, and because it's a river valley, it's super lush and fertile, and there's hazelnuts growing there, wild hazelnuts, and it's one of the few places you can grow cherries and pears and
amazing
apples and stuff in Newfoundland. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, apples.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of sheep there.
Interesting.
And they're Newfoundland sheep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's literally called the breed. That's super cool. So would they be, because like when I think of, for example, when I'm in Nova Scotia, then the sheep breeds that fare really well there, and then the wool that you get from them is definitely what you, like you want that on your outer layer to protect yourself from sea spray, not necessarily right next to your skin.
Yeah.
But so Newfoundland sheep are probably similar.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't tell you which breeds they came from originally, but it's kind of like the Newfoundland pony, like they came from some other breeds, but it was so long ago that now they're
its own
their
thing.
own. Yeah.
Cool.
And a lot of the fleece in Newfoundland now goes to Briggs and Little or McCausland's.
Okay, that
because there's no longer a mill.
Right. Yeah, so those would be the two closest. Casual little mini mills popping up everywhere, or using the old equipment. Yeah. Like, yes.
Unfortunately, the brook that powered the water wheel has since moved, but there's probably a way around that.
Yeah, you can make that work somehow. Super cool. So you've lived your entire life around textiles, basically, then, and around sheep, I guess. So your whole life has been based around fiber sheds. Not necessarily that word, but like the fiber community and economy has always been
present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this may be a trickier one to answer, but what do you think stops other people from engaging with their local fiber sheds?
Probably accessibility. Back in the day, like post-contact, there were wool mills everywhere. They were like every few miles, and people had any number of sheep. Like obviously, it's not nice to have one.
Yeah.
They're a flock animal, but there were so many sheep in Canada, and Canada's fleece is pretty primo. Like there's really nice fleece in Canada. A lot of the fleece that comes off the prairies is way cleaner, so people like that more because it doesn't have as much chaff and stuff. But there used to be sheep everywhere, and therefore mills, and there were a lot of weavers, especially Upper Canada. So yeah, and we didn't have like worldwide shipping the way we do now and stuff. So a lot of textiles were produced in North America by hand, and there was a loom in every house. And anyway, so I think accessibility is part of it. Like, in our grandmothers or great grandmothers, more likely time, they were accessible. They were an everyday thing. But now there's more mini mills than ever, but there's 3 major mills.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So, and I mean 2 are on the East Coast, and then we have custom.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's not in Carstairs, not quite in.
Yeah, exactly. It's like sort of outside of both.
Yeah, it's at Midway, so it's hard. It can be hard for people to find it or even begin to know where to. And it's definitely not glamorous. It's a mill. It's heavy labor. There's sheep shit everywhere. You know, so as much as we make very fine craft out of wool, it doesn't have its humble beginnings. So it's not for everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
That kind of environment. So accessibility and approachability.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Well, and even like I think of, my nan knit and sewed everything, and she had, all of these old Singer machines that were beautiful and totally functional, and are still totally functional. We have one of them. But there was a point, I think, maybe in the 50s, where she stopped sewing. And my mom asked her, because she was a beautiful seamstress, and my mom was like, Mom, why aren't you sewing anymore? And she was like, because I don't want to. Like, I don't have to anymore. Fast fashion moved in. Industrialization made it so that she could, as like a parent who, it was a single income family, multiple kids, rural Nova Scotia, but industrialization and fast fashion had come along enough for her to be able to
free up time.
Yeah, exactly. She's like she refused to even hem pants because she just didn't want to, because she didn't have to anymore. And so she was like, if I need to hem pants, I will take them to a tailor and they will do it for me. Yeah. But I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. So I think there's also maybe that gap for people where like it was no longer a necessity, and so now it's like.
And then there's some lost skills because of a generation gap.
Totally massive. That has been, I feel like, especially when you're like talking to people about like breeds and how to deal with things, and even like with hides, how to tan. Those skills haven't been lost in other parts of the world. Like if you even go over to like the UK, fucking breeds are everywhere. People know how to take care of their woolens. They know how to choose a breed depending on what they want the end item to do. And so that's like not a thing that is confusing to them. Whereas in North America, definitely, and especially in the US and Canada, then that generational gap shifted and it caused like a pretty massive loss of knowledge.
And then we see major wool companies and other fiber companies sweeping in with superwash.
Yes.
And you see like fine lace being knit with slippery, slick superwash that's not locking in, won't actually keep you warm.
Yep.
When it should be knit with wool and spun.
Exactly.
Woolly wool.
Yeah. So that it then like holds its shape and actually keeps you warm while still looking delicate and beautiful.
And you don't have to block it every day or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you block it once and you're probably good for many years. Yeah. So, now also much of what we just discussed was post-contact and quite post-contact. So can you talk a bit about like traditions within like your home community and from like any side, like for weaving or for making clothing, something that is like particularly special you think that other people wouldn't necessarily know about?
About Cuttery Valley specifically, or
like any sure. So
Newfoundland was like the point of first contact, so it's been a long ass time. So, and there was a lot of at first Newfoundland was a colony, hence colonialism, but for a long time settler colonialism wasn't part of the landscape there. It was literally a come, fish, leave kind of situation. And so it took a couple of generations, or at least one, before people started staying. And then it was certainly blended communities then, like between and Newfoundland's the Beothuk are indigenous to Newfoundland. Right. And the Mi'kmaq always came, like we always went to Newfoundland since time immemorial, but anyways, when the Beata didn't, well, on record, do not exist anymore.
But do in reality.
Do. You know, culturally and socially are lost, but still exist in the world. And so, yeah, there was kind of a blend of people who did it all. They were weavers, they were tanners, they made moggies, they sewed with sealskin. Like, it's very normal to see sealskin garments and accessories everywhere in Newfoundland. And when I was a kid, it was that was the time when people were flying their private jets to Newfoundland to protest the seal hunt, and so wearing seal was kind of like having a target on your back. So, but now it's a lot different. Like, you can get anything sealskin, and there's the grocery store there is called well, there's a bunch of them, but the one nearest my hometown is called Coleman's, and near the chips by the till, there's sealskins on a rack.
That's hilarious.
Pick them up at the grocery store.
As you need them.
I
mean, I would be that person who's like, great, thanks.
I'll take a Twix.
Yeah. I need some gum and some sealskin. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's made for really interesting. It's something I want to dig into more, but there's a really interesting textile history there because of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, looms all over, like southwestern Newfoundland mostly, kind of tucked away in those attics, and tanners. My grandfather was a master tanner, and he made moccasins with like fancy fringe and stuff. So
super cool.
Did I answer that question?
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay.
Yeah. So beyond going to Coleman's and getting your sealskin along with your Twix, what's an easy way for people to engage in their fiber sheds, do you think?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because, because I work with my ideal fiber shed so closely, and I live remotely or rurally, like my circle's fairly small, and the people that I know really well do engage with a fiber shed. Yeah. And there's mini mills around, but I'm just not that familiar with them because I work so closely with custom. Yep. But you said that an easy way for people to engage.
Yeah, like if they are not engaging right now, then what would be an easy way to start?
Yeah. Well, the very first part of that, I think, is like get curious about fleece. Yeah. And in this day and age, like, we have such a responsibility to get curious about our consumptions in all of their various forms. So, I think the first thing is just, I'm knitting with this, where the heck does it come from? And then you start to learn, like, you know what? Like, maybe Canadian fleece is really woolly and lofty and it's not what I'm used to, but it's so much better. Like, it's I don't mind tooting Canadian fleece's horn. It's so much better. Yeah. Yeah. And, we're marketed to from wool mills across the world but we've got it here. Yeah. So I think the first part is like getting curious and then doing your research and seeking it out. And it's not that hard to find Canadian fleece. Like there are sheep around, and there are lots of hand spinners, and there's lots of fiber education going on. You yourself teach, I teach. The craft schools, their textile programs are coming up and up. Yeah. And the mills are doing cool things, and the three that we're lucky enough to have still are very interesting. Like McCausland's they weave there too, and they make gorgeous blankets.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I guess that's the first thing. And then do your research and try to drop into a mill, or even just buy the yarn. And in most cases, the real cost is a lot less, but also, like, your own pocketbook is... Yes. And, like, that's impetus enough sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a convoluted answer, I think, but...
Yeah, but I don't think it's a simple question either.
No, it's not.
Sorry. So you said that you live in your ideal fiber shed. What does that look like to you?
So I can give you the day-to-day of it. The custom, Maddie and Fen and I work together closely on ongoing projects, but we've also gotten a few off the ground together. So we do, all of our projects are natural dye based. So we do the Field and Forage line, which is the seasonal dye line. Every autumn I go down there and dye minimum 10 pound batches, but sometimes more like 20 pound of each color, and we have a one year colorway. And that's based on what did well in the garden, what we can get from a local nearby biodynamic farm, by the bow maker nearby for Pernambuco. Sometimes we might be able to get avocados from a food truck. It just depends on what's doing well and what we have a surplus of. So we do that. And then we also got off the ground the production line, the naturally dyed mule spun. And we also do the Natural Dye Club. So that, even though that runs over the summer, it is something we're working on most of the year, because we have to write all the installments. When people purchase a subscription, they get an email once a month with directions on how to dye, how to start their seeds, or we have 3 variations, a grow along, dye along, knit along, and then a forage along, knit along, dye along. And then this year we're doing a forage for invasive species, but we also do a kitchen waste forage. So, and then we develop the patterns. Sometimes I do the pattern, sometimes Ben does the pattern. So we have those 3 major projects, and I go down, I'm at the mill a few times a year to work on either expanding a dye line, sampling, to do the Field and Forage, whatever. And then I work from home on the writing side.
I feel like that's something that people don't get if they're not involved in the industry, is how much time goes into writing emails and newsletters and shit like that. The amount of time that you spend typing versus on your practice is sometimes a little bit frustrating. But I mean, there's value in both. But it's interesting how much time can be spent crafting a well worded, which clearly I'm not doing very well right now, which is maybe why sometimes it takes me longer. But
you're doing great.
Thanks. But making something that is worthwhile and accessible, so that people who have never been exposed to this before know how to it's their gateway in.
And that they don't feel intimidated. That's something we really want to do with the Dye Club, that people can walk away and know what they're doing and understand mordanting and color modification, shifting color, over dyeing, the basics. And that they can walk away and do it on their own, and know how to keep records too. So that they can recreate that color, or in their sampling can recreate any color that they come across.
Super cool. So we fell into the questions a little bit quick, and we can go back to whatever you want. But right now, what's next for you?
I'm going to continue just doing what I'm doing. I continue weaving. I'm kind of took a year off of markets, but I regret doing that. So I'm going to get back into that in the fall. I took a year off because my partner's in school. So continuing with live textiles. and continuing work with the mill. Basically more of the same. I don't, as we were talking about earlier, I don't want to focus too much on one aspect so that I don't have time for the others, because I feel like a layered, multifaceted life is the one for me. So I like having 10 different jobs, so I just want to keep doing that. And, you know, I will, in the near future, step back from some things in order to focus more on weaving, but yeah.
Right now the bees continue.
But right now the bees continue. They'll continue for life, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And with live textiles, like, part of my intention with it is that people do see textiles as an animate piece to their lives, and especially with natural dyes, they change. Like, if you have iron rich water, you're going to shift the color. If you accidentally spill linens all over yourself, you're going to change your garments. So rather than see that as a downfall of their cloth, to see that as something part of its lifespan, and something that's what makes it living. And you know, the more you use linen, the finer it becomes. And same with wool, like, the more you use it in some aspects, the loftier and drapier and smoother it becomes. And that's a natural progression of a lifetime. And, you know, well-made, well-woven and finished, really nicely finished piece of cloth will last generations and outlive you.
Yes.
And so that's also part of my work and intention. Everything I finish there's no sergers or exposed seams or whatever, because I want it to outlive its person, its OG person. Yeah. Yeah. So keep doing that stuff. Maybe expand, make some more products. Right now I focus mostly on the cloth, but maybe start doing pillows and something like that. Just, you know, more live textiles.
Yeah. Cool. I love it.
There's a Mi'kmaq word, aluch, and it means something that is animate, and it's often pertains to material goods like moccasins or gloves or blankets. So that's kind of something that's always floating around in my mind when I'm working.
Cool. Beautiful. This has been very cool. Thank you so much. There will be pictures of the pupper online for people who want to see it. And then, of course, there will be links for your online spaces so that people can find you and find your cloth and purchase your cloth. And yeah, thank you very much for sharing your time with me. This has been really great.
Well, thank you, Ash. It's not every day someone makes their way up to the towers. Yeah. You know, if I hadn't had company last week, you would have been the first person I saw in months. So
okay.
Had some priming before you arrived.
That's the hard thing. This is why I cannot live rural. It is way too easy for me to be like, nope, don't ever need to see a human again. I'm fine talking to the dog and all of the squirrels.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy to do. Yeah. Cool. So I appreciate it. It's a long trek, and
it's a beautiful trek, though.
Oh, well, thanks. Coming up.
Cool. Thanks. So once I got back to Manitoba, I got a follow-up email from Megan about some things that she didn't get a chance to mention during our conversation that she wanted me to add in, as well as some resources. And so the resources you can find in the show notes, as well as being added to the resources page on fromfieldtoskin.com. And now I'm going to read the notes that Megan asked me to add to our conversation. So here's Megan. I think that there is onus on us as tertiary producers, makers, and craftspersons to commit to complete transparency, to be transparent in the source of our materials, our sources of knowledge and ideas, and our professional relations. Our success is entirely dependent on the success of the primary farmers and secondary mills producers. Ergo, the more we promote them and their hard work, the more reliable access we will have to the products we rely on to make the things we make, and the more informed our consumers will be. The more success they experience, the more they can provide expanded product lines to us, which we can then carry forward, etc., etc. Big Textiles is a shady business, and it's not very easy to find out exactly the source of social and environmental or even production conditions of the products available are like, including fiber, of course, but also dyes, mordants, etc. In this instance, Canadian wool, we have every opportunity to be fully informed and to fully inform end-line consumers. So if we, as true lovers and workers with Canadian wool, really want to see and impact the success of our fiber sheds, we'll share all of our fiber resources with every single member of the community. As mentioned, I feel the same about knowledge and ideas. We must give credit where credit is due. It's really all about honesty, respect, and reciprocation for me, which is not a difficult concept or boundary to work within, and I carry important to me teachings about this, which I will not disrespect for the success of my business and ultimately the business of another. So that was a quote from Megan, and I think it's really beautiful and makes a lot of sense. And it is a lovely little end note to our conversation. And so I hope that you have enjoyed this particular episode. I really enjoyed my time up at the Fire Tower with Megan, and continue watching our forage collection for 2019. Thanks.